The ocean is vast, wild, and mysterious, hiding more secrets than we'll ever find. Throughout history, sailors and explorers have reported islands that appeared on maps, were named, and even included in treaties, only to vanish without a trace. Some were phantom islands, mistakes made by early cartographers. Others were swallowed by the sea, erased by storms, or perhaps never existed at all. From islands that once held entire settlements to land masses that mysteriously disappeared overnight, these places make you wonder, how much of the world do we really know? Let's explore 15 islands that were once part of our maps, until they weren't. Number 15. Bermeja, Mexico's missing island. For centuries, Bermeja Island appeared on maps of the Gulf of Mexico, first recorded by Spanish explorers in 1539. Located northwest of the Yucatan Peninsula, it was considered an important landmark and was included in naval records, trade routes, and even oil rights negotiations. Then, by the 20th century, Bermeja completely disappeared. Despite multiple expeditions, using ships, planes, and even satellites, no one has ever found a trace of it. Some believe it was an early cartographic mistake, repeated so often that it became accepted as real. Others suggest rising sea levels submerged it, while a few conspiracy theorists claim it was deliberately destroyed by political forces to affect territorial disputes over oil-rich waters. Whatever the truth, Bermeja's disappearance remains one of the strangest cartographic mysteries. Number 14. Sandy Island, deleted by Google Maps in 2012. For over a century, Sandy Island appeared in the Pacific near New Caledonia. It was included on official maps, navigational charts, and even Google Earth. Ships were warned to avoid it. Then, in 2012, an Australian research team sailed to its exact coordinates and found nothing but open ocean. There was no landmass, no shallow reef, just deep water where an island should have been. Scientists theorized that Sandy Island was likely a pumice raft, floating volcanic debris mistaken for land, or simply a cartographic error that persisted for decades. Once it was confirmed to be fake, Google Earth removed it, and the world essentially erased it overnight. But what's even weirder? Some 19th century sailors claimed they actually landed there. Was Sandy Island an illusion, or did something really exist there long ago? Well, we don't know. Number 13. Aurora Islands, the South Atlantic's phantom land. In 1762, Spanish explorers claimed they had discovered the Aurora Islands, a small group of land masses in the South Atlantic Ocean, far off the coast of Argentina. Multiple ships over the next 100 years reported seeing them. Yet, when Britain sent a naval expedition to confirm their existence, they found nothing but endless water. Despite this, the islands remained on maps until 1902, when they were finally erased. So what happened? Some suggest early sailors mistook floating icebergs for islands. Others believe the auroras were real, but later swallowed by the sea due to undersea volcanic activity. But here's the eerie part. Some modern sailors still claim to see land there, even today. Could these islands still exist, but remain hidden by oceanic forces? Or are they simply an illusion that refuses to die? Number 12. Isla San Juan, the Chilean island that disappeared. In the 1500s, explorers mapping the coast of Chile recorded Isla San Juan, a small but strategically important island off the southern coast. It appeared on maps for centuries, with references in naval logs and political documents. Then, as cartographers refined their maps, they noticed something strange. No one had actually seen the island in years. When later explorers searched for it, they found nothing. Isla San Juan had vanished. Some theorists argue that it was an early mapping error, confusing part of the mainland for an island. Others suggest it was a low-lying landmass that was eroded by rising seas or an earthquake, a real possibility given Chile's seismic history. Whatever the case, officials eventually removed it from maps, even though it had been treated as a real island for centuries. A case of mistaken geography? Or another land lost to the ocean? Number 11. Thule, the frozen island of legends. Ancient Greek explorers spoke of Thule, a land far to the north, beyond the edge of the known world. It was said to be covered in ice, bathed in near-constant sunlight in summer, and inhabited by a strange, self-sufficient people. For centuries, Thule was marked on maps, though its exact location shifted. Some believed it was Iceland, Norway, or Greenland. Others thought it was an exaggeration, a mythical place, like Atlantis. But what if it was real? Some theorists suggest Thule was an actual island that later became submerged, or even an early description of the Arctic ice sheet before modern climate changes. Despite being erased from official maps, Thule's name still lingers today, used by secret societies, military bases, and conspiracy theorists who believe it was an ancient lost civilization. Was Thule real, or just a sailor's dream of the unreachable? Number 10. High Brazil, the Irish Atlantis. For centuries, maps depicted High Brazil, a mysterious island west of Ireland. Unlike other disappearing islands, High Brazil had a strange reputation. It was said to be visible only once every 7 years, then vanish into mist. Sailors swore they had landed on it, describing it as a paradise filled with advanced people, gold, and strange glowing lights. Some claimed it was a remnant of Atlantis, while others thought it was home to supernatural beings. Despite repeated expeditions, no one could find it consistently, and by the 1800s, cartographers removed it from maps. So what was High Brazil? Some say it was a mirage caused by light refraction over the Atlantic. Others believe it was a real island, later destroyed by rising waters. And then there's the unsettling idea that High Brazil still exists, but only reveals itself when it chooses to. Number 9. Isle of Demons, the cursed island that disappeared. In the 1500s, early explorers feared one island more than any other, the Isle of Demons, located near Newfoundland, Canada. It was said to be a cursed land, haunted by spirits and filled with eerie sounds that terrified sailors. The legend became infamous when a French noblewoman, Marguerite de la Roque, was abandoned there as punishment. She and her companions reportedly heard screams in the night, saw shadowy figures moving through the mist, and felt an overwhelming presence of something watching them. One by one, her companions died, leaving Marguerite alone until she was miraculously rescued. For centuries, the Isle of Demons appeared on maps, and sailors swore they saw it from a distance, but every time they tried to land, the island seemed to vanish. Eventually, it was removed from maps altogether. Was it simply an error? Or did the Isle of Demons exist, only to be swallowed by the sea, or something far more sinister? Number 8. Pepys Island, the British colony that never was. In 1684, English explorer William Ambrose Cowley claimed he had discovered a fertile, uninhabited island north of the Falkland Islands. He named it Pepys Island, after the famous English naval administrator Samuel Pepys, and it quickly became a strategic interest for Britain. For the next 100 years, explorers searched for Pepys Island, eager to colonize it. Some claimed they had found it, describing it as lush and full of wildlife. Others sailed directly to its recorded coordinates and found nothing but open water. By the 19th century, explorers concluded that Pepys Island had never existed. Most likely, Cowley had misidentified one of the Falkland Islands. Yet for over a century, it had been treated as a real place, included in British territorial claims. Whether it was a mistake, a deliberate hoax, or a true island that disappeared, Pepys Island remains one of history's strangest maritime mysteries. Number 7. Isle Felipeaux, the island that shaped a nation's border. Some islands disappear from maps quietly. Others leave a lasting impact on history, despite never existing in the first place. One such island was Isle Felipeaux, a mysterious landmass that was included in the 1783 Treaty of Paris, which officially ended the American Revolutionary War. This treaty helped define the border between Canada and the newly independent United States, and Isle Felipeaux was a key geographic landmark in that agreement. But there was a problem. When explorers went to locate Isle Felipeaux in Lake Superior, it was nowhere to be found. Despite its non-existence, the US-Canada border had already been drawn around it, shaping diplomatic relations for generations. Historians believe early French explorers simply misidentified a section of the lake, but some speculate it could have been a deliberate fabrication. Either way, Isle Felipeaux proves that even an island that never existed can still change history. Number 6. Doherty Island, a land that was never there. In 1841, Captain Daniel Doherty, a whaling ship captain, reported discovering an island in the Southern Ocean, somewhere between New Zealand and Antarctica. Over the next several decades, sailors reported sightings of what they believed to be Doherty Island, confirming its existence. It was included in official maps, appearing as a real landmass until the early 20th century. However, when explorers attempted to visit it in 1912, they found nothing but open sea. Subsequent expeditions also failed to locate any land, and by 1930, Doherty Island was officially erased from maps. So what did the early sailors see? Some believe it was a massive iceberg mistaken for land. Others suggest a fata morgana, a rare atmospheric illusion that makes distant objects appear as solid land. Whatever the case, Doherty Island stood on maps for nearly a century before it was finally proven to be nothing but a ghost in the waves. Number 5. New South Greenland, a lost continent? In 1823, Scottish whaler Benjamin Morrell claimed to have discovered a massive landmass in the Weddell Sea near Antarctica. He named it New South Greenland, describing towering ice cliffs, rocky shores, and valleys stretching inland. For decades, this supposed island appeared on maps, marked as a potentially habitable part of the Antarctic region. The problem? No one ever found it again. By the early 1900s, explorers had mapped the Weddell Sea extensively, and there was no sign of New South Greenland. Some believe Morrell saw a floating ice shelf, mistaking it for land. Others think a volcanic island may have briefly formed before sinking beneath the waves. Despite being erased from maps, New South Greenland remains a strange mystery. Could an unknown land have existed here once, only to disappear? Or was it just an explorer's mistake, frozen in time? Number 4. Maria Theresa Reef, the reef that fooled the world. Some islands disappear quietly, but Maria Theresa Reef left behind a trail of confusion. First recorded in 1843, this reef was reported in the South Pacific Ocean, with multiple ships confirming its location. It was charted, studied, and included in maps for more than a century. Then, in the 20th century, when modern navigation techniques improved, ships went looking for it again and found nothing but a deep ocean. Geologists believe Maria Theresa Reef was likely a misidentified floating mass of volcanic pumice, which can resemble solid land from a distance. Others think it was an error copied from map to map until it became accepted as real. Yet, some sailors still claim to have seen it. Did Maria Theresa Reef once exist and later sink? Or was it always a trick of the ocean, leading sailors on a chase for a land that was never there? Number 3. Ernest Legouvé Reef, the reef that refused to be found. In the 19th century, a French naval officer named Ernest Legouvé was honored with his name being given to a newly discovered reef in the Pacific Ocean. The location was marked on navigation charts, and sailors were warned to steer clear. Reports described it as a vast, shallow reef, a dangerous obstacle for passing ships. Yet, despite repeated sightings, no one could ever properly map or verify it. In 1928, the French Navy sent an expedition to confirm its location, expecting to finally chart the reef in detail. What did they find? Nothing. No reef, no shallows, just endless deep water. Sailors continued reporting the reef throughout the 20th century, yet every scientific expedition that followed found only an open ocean. By 1983, cartographers officially removed it from all maps, labeling it a phantom reef. Still, some sailors swear they've seen something there. Was it an optical illusion, an underwater volcanic structure, or a reef swallowed by shifting ocean currents? The mystery remains. Number 2. Jupiter Reef, the Phantom of the Pacific. Some islands vanish over centuries. Jupiter Reef disappeared almost instantly. In the 19th century, several ships reported the existence of a massive reef in the Pacific, seemingly appearing and disappearing with the waves. It was officially recorded on naval charts as a potential danger to any ship venturing too close. But as soon as it was documented, Jupiter Reef proved impossible to find again. Multiple expeditions were sent to confirm its location in the early 20th century, each failing to spot any sign of it. By 1975, after decades of fruitless searches, the reef was erased from maps and dismissed as a phantom landmass. What could have caused these sailors to believe they'd found a reef? Some experts suggest it was a floating volcanic island, a temporary landmass formed by an eruption before sinking beneath the waves. Others blame mirages and underwater optical illusions. Yet, even today, sailors report strange formations in the area, hinting that Jupiter Reef may still exist, just beyond our reach. Number 1. Tuanaki, the vanished civilization of the Cook Islands. Unlike most of the islands on this list, Tuanaki was real. It wasn't a mistake or an illusion. It was home to a thriving Polynesian community, part of the Cook Islands in the South Pacific. Then, one day in the 1800s, it disappeared. Sailors had visited Tuanaki before, describing it as a peaceful island filled with lush greenery and a flourishing population. But when later explorers returned to its location, there was nothing there. No land, no ruins, no survivors. The leading theory is that Tuanaki was swallowed by the sea, either by a massive earthquake, a volcanic event, or a sudden tsunami. Because the island was so remote, no record of its destruction was ever made, and its people vanished without a trace. Some believe Tuanaki still exists, hidden beneath the waves, its ruins buried under the ocean floor. But with no physical evidence left behind, it remains one of the most haunting maritime mysteries ever recorded. If you have found this video interesting, please like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.